Welcome to First Post America, everyone. I'm Eric Ham, and we're coming to you live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. And over the next few minutes, we'll take you from the United States and around the world, covering all the top stories of the day. But before that, here's a look at the latest headlines. India's Defense Minister Rajnath Singh warns Pakistan of unthinkable consequences if it crosses the line as he visits India's first indigenously built aircraft carrier. At least 6 people were killed in drone strikes by Sudan's paramilitary forces in the key southern city of El Obeid as the RSF launches a major counteroffensive against the army. Turkey proposes to host a trilateral meeting between the presidents of the United States, Russia, and Ukraine as Kyiv and Moscow get ready for a second round of talks in Istanbul to end the war in Ukraine. French President Emmanuel Macron calls on European leaders to harden their position against Israel if it fails to respond to the worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza. And China signs a convention to establish a global mediation body in Hong Kong, with Beijing hoping it will rival the International Court of Justice in resolving global conflicts. Today we begin in Washington, where a fierce legal battle over the U.S. trade policy has taken another dramatic turn. A federal appeals court has temporarily reinstated President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs one day after a lower court struck them down. The lower court had ruled that the president overstepped his authority by invoking the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act, which is intended to address national emergencies, not global trade. The Court of International Trade, or CIT, further stated that the Constitution gives Congress and not the president the power to impose tariffs, and criticized the administration for using IEEPA to levy blanket duties on imports from most U.S. trading partners. Now, President Trump's so-called Liberation Day tariffs, which included a 10% baseline on global imports and additional 25% duties on goods from Canada, Mexico, and China, were tied to his claim that those countries were enabling the flow of fentanyl into the United States. However, the appeals court has now paused enforcement of that decision. Plaintiffs have until June 5th to respond to the administration, with the administration's reply due by June 9th. No explanation for the stay was provided, but the White House welcomed the move, calling the tariffs essential for national security.
The courts should have no role here. There is a troubling and dangerous trend of unelected judges inserting themselves into the presidential decision-making process. America cannot function if President Trump, or any other president for that matter, has their sensitive diplomatic or trade negotiations railroaded by activist judges.
Meanwhile, senior Trump officials remain confident. In fact, trade advisor Peter Navarro said, and I quote, "You can assume even if we lose tariff cases, we will find another way," end quote. The president himself took to social media, blasting the CIT ruling as a horrible decision and calling on the Supreme Court to reverse it. He also warned that the decision, if upheld, would completely destroy presidential power. Meanwhile, in a bid to secure legal standing, the administration is also considering using a little-known provision of the 1974 Trade Act. This stopgap measure would allow temporary tariffs of up to 15% for 150 days on most imports, buying time for the administration to draft country-specific tariff plans under separate authority.
This ruling represents a setback for the administration's tariff plans and increases uncertainty, but might not change the final outcome for most major U.S. trading partners. For now, we expect the Trump administration will find other ways to impose tariffs.
Now, despite the legal fog, the administration insists upcoming trade talks remain on schedule. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that trading partners, including Japan, were continuing to negotiate with the United States in good faith, and there has been no change in their attitude since the court's ruling.
It seems highly inappropriate for the judiciary to wade in here when the Senate had the opportunity to override the president and didn't. You know, we have not seen any of that in terms of our trading partners. They are coming to us in good faith and trying to complete the deals before the 90-day pause ends. So we've seen no change in their attitude in the past 48 hours. As a matter of fact, I have a very large Japanese delegation coming to my office first thing tomorrow morning.
So as businesses brace for the next move and the courts continue to weigh presidential power against constitutional limits, one thing is clear: this trade war is far from over. And as the White House weighs its next legal maneuver, one question looms: exactly how far is too far when rewriting the rules of global trade? And staying in the United States, President Donald Trump's administration is escalating its immigration crackdown with a new target of arresting at least 3,000 people every day. The new target, tripling arrest figures from earlier this year, was reportedly delivered to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, officials by White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem in a strained meeting last week. Now, Miller, who has long been the architect of Trump's immigration policies, reportedly used harsh tone, telling field directors to boost numbers or risk losing their jobs. Noem, meanwhile, allegedly struck a more milder approach, asking for feedback while still supporting the push.
Under President Trump's leadership, we are looking to set a goal of a minimum of 3,000 arrests for ICE every day. The number is going to keep getting bumped higher over time.
The target comes as the administration pursues what it calls the largest deportation operation in the history of the United States, aiming for up to 1 million deportations per year. Now, despite a drop in border crossings since President Trump took office in January, the administration has shifted its focus to increase interior enforcement, arresting migrants living inside the country. Now, according to recent reports, in early May, nearly 49,000 people were in ICE custody, well above the agency's budgeted capacity.
This administration is going to pursue immigration enforcement and cooperation in every city. And anyone who doesn't comply with the laws and dictates of this country will face the appropriate legal consequences. When it comes to immigration enforcement, now that we have achieved the mission of sealing the border, you're going to see more and more resources and priorities put into the mass deportation program. And so on a day-to-day basis, you're going to see exponentially larger numbers of illegal aliens being arrested and removed from the interior.
And to help meet these aggressive targets, ICE is now undergoing a major leadership shakeup. On Thursday, the Trump administration removed 2 senior immigration enforcement officials. And despite official denials, multiple reports suggest the removals were triggered by White House frustration over slow numbers. Miller and Noem are also said to have threatened to fire the bottom 10% of ICE field officials if targets are not met.
Organizational realignments will help ICE achieve President Trump and the American people's mandate of arresting and deporting criminal illegal aliens and making American communities safe.
And in recent months, agents from the FBI, Homeland Security investigations, the Drug Enforcement Administration, and other federal agencies have been redirected from their usual missions to support immigration enforcement. But immigration advocates reportedly warn that increasing arrest quotas could lead to mistaken detentions, including legal immigrants and even U.S. citizens. Still, Republicans in Congress have backed a 10-year, $147 billion funding boost to expand enforcement, a bill the White House calls the Big Beautiful Bill.
Our one big, beautiful bill fulfills the mandate for change we were given last November. It allows President Trump to continue his successful border security and deportation operations by investing in more Border Patrol agents and ICE officers, funding the continuation of the border wall, and equipping our men and women on the front lines with the tools they need to keep us safe.
So with jobs on the line, targets rising, and billions in motion, President Trump's administration isn't just talking tough on immigration. Rather, it's moving fast and far. A dramatic shift may be underway in Washington's most disruptive government agency. With Elon Musk stepping down from his controversial role at the Department of Government Efficiency, speculation is swirling that Indian-American entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy will take his place. But as whispers swirl of his return and grow louder, so does the backlash. A heartfelt anniversary post by Ramaswamy for his wife spiraled into a storm of racism, revealing a brutal undercurrent within the GOP. As immigration, identity, and ideology collide, the future of DOGE and its leadership hangs in the balance. Can Ramaswamy withstand the rising tide, or will his ascent be cut short by his own party? Here's the story with more.
Whispers in Washington swirl like smoke over a dying fire. Elon Musk is out. DOGE, the Trump-era wrecking ball against bureaucracy, is leaderless.
Take over, Elijah.
And now eyes are turning, cautiously, curiously, to Vivek Ramaswamy, a name already marked by ambition and now by controversy. Musk's departure wasn't exactly a champagne send-off. His 130-day tenure ended with friction, fury, and a farewell post on X. As my scheduled time ends, he wrote, the DOGE mission will only grow stronger. Translation, he's done, and may be done with Trump too. Behind closed doors, reports speculate that the exit wasn't mutual. Musk reportedly never spoke to Trump before resigning. He had just slammed the president's marquee tax bill. And with it, the president's first buddy proved that the love had faded.
I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly. It's the big, beautiful bill, and it's beautiful because of all the things we have.
But DOGE isn't folding. The Department of Government Efficiency marches on, and now it needs a new captain. Enter Ramaswamy, Indian-American entrepreneur, former DOGE co-lead, and a Republican firebrand. And if reports are true, he's the man next in line. But before he could step back into the spotlight, the internet turned on him. On May 27, Ramaswamy posted a personal thread, a love story, 10 years of marriage, a first date hiking up Flat Top Mountain, a sudden blizzard, with a promise to return. We finally made it back, he wrote, sharing before and after photos with his wife Apurva, grateful for the love of my life. It should have been a wholesome moment, a soft glimpse into a politician's humanity. But trolls smelled blood. You weren't built for winter. Go back to India. Did you bleach your skin to look higher caste? Comments poured in like acid rain. And what should have been a celebration was hijacked by hate. And the irony? Ramaswamy has publicly criticized the H-1B visa program. He has demanded reform, a meritocratic overhaul. But his very identity, his brown skin, his surname, was enough for racists to label him a fraud.
Vote Trump.
The backlash stung. It wasn't just anonymous avatars behind screens. It was a reflection of the rift within Trump's party.
Very nice. Wasn't that nice?
Musk saw it too and exploded. On X, he called for a purge. Those in the Republican Party who are hateful, unrepentant racists must be removed root and stem. And even though he didn't name names, everyone knew. Laura Loomer, far-right provocateur and Trump ally, has campaigned hard against H-1B visas. She accused Musk of betraying the America First agenda. She even blamed him for removing her blue check mark on X.
I'm not working for President Trump. I'm not getting paid by President Trump. I'm not in the Trump White House. I wasn't even on the Trump campaign. And yet, I feel like very single day. It's a full-time job just to make sure the president is protected and that he's receiving the information he needs to receive.
Meanwhile, Ramaswamy's anniversary post, meant to inspire, became a battlefield. So as the GOP eats itself alive over race, immigration, and identity, the DOGE seat sits empty. And the man most likely to fill it is being told by his own supposed allies that he doesn't belong here. Will Ramaswamy rise to lead DOGE? Or will America's darkest voices chase him off the mountain once again?
And now to Europe, where a stunning new report has exposed the extent of defense cooperation between North Korea and Russia. A multinational sanctions monitoring team comprising 11 countries, including the United States, the UK, Japan, Australia, and several European countries, has confirmed that since September of 2023, North Korea has shipped over 20,000 containers of munitions to Russia. The report claims the cargo includes ballistic missiles, heavy artillery, multiple rocket launchers, and anti-tank systems, all of which have been deployed to target Ukrainian cities and infrastructure. Now, these arms were allegedly transported by sea, air, and rail to depots in southwestern Russia, enabling Moscow to sustain its intensified missile campaign against Kyiv.
Evidence gathered and shared by the multilateral sanctions monitoring team participating states demonstrate that throughout 2024, North Korea and Russia engaged in myriad of unlawful activities explicitly prohibited under relevant UN Security Council resolutions.
Additionally, the monitoring group established last year after Russia and China blocked a UN panel also revealed that Russia has been training North Korean soldiers deployed to the front lines. Since October of last year, more than 11,000 North Korean soldiers have been seen to fight alongside Russian forces, with a further 3,000 deployed early this year. In exchange, Moscow is believed to have provided Pyongyang with critical military support, including data to improve its missile program.
Since November 2024, Russia is believed to have provided North Korea with short-range air defense systems and advanced electronic warfare systems, including jamming equipment using Russian cargo aircraft, and also transferred operational knowledge.
Now, while neither side has officially confirmed the transfers, these revelations come at a time when Russia is intensifying its military campaigns in Ukraine. In fact, since the invasion began in February of 2023, Russia's campaign has caused tens of thousands of deaths and massive destruction across eastern and southern Ukraine. Now, in recent days, Russian forces have also moved forward on the battlefield, capturing some villages along the Ukrainian border in an attempt to create what President Vladimir Putin terms buffer zones. At the same time, military ties between Pyongyang and Moscow have deepened under a strategic partnership treaty signed by North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and President Putin just last year. In a public address at the Russian embassy in Pyongyang earlier this month, the North Korean leader openly defended his country's involvement in the Ukraine war. Take a listen.
Our participation in the conflict was just, and it falls within the sovereign rights of our republic. If attempt another assault on the Russian Federation, our brother nation, instead of giving up their dangerous attempt for military invasion, I will not hesitate to order the use of military force of Democratic People Republic of Korea to repel enemy's invasion, in accordance with the corresponding article of the DPRK-Russia Treaty and its spirit.
So as military cooperation between North Korea and Russia continues to deepen, the UN monitoring group warns that this could have grave consequences for both regional and global security. And finally, a chilling reminder of Mexico's deepening crisis with gang violence, this time claiming the lives of 5 young musicians hired to perform at a private event in the border city of Reynosa. The group never made it back, and their bodies were found days later, and authorities say cartel members are to blame. As arrests are made and the community mourns, questions grow about just how safe it is to be an artist in the country where music and crime are becoming dangerously intertwined. We have more from the ground.
The brutal murders of 5 musicians from the Mexican group Fugitivo have once again highlighted the deadly intersection of gang violence and cultural life in Mexico's cartel-dominated Northeast. The band members, aged between 20 and 40, vanished on May 25th while en route to a private performance in Reynosa. It's a city near the U.S. border that has become synonymous with cartel brutality. Their disappearance triggered a frantic search, with distraught relatives reporting ransom demands. Days later, the grim discovery of 5 bodies confirmed their worst fears. Authorities have since arrested 9 people apprehended with firearms and vehicles believed to be used in the crime.
During this operation, state and federal law enforcement forces arrested 9 individuals considered to be likely responsible for the mentioned events and who are known to be members of a criminal cell of the Gulf Cartel.
According to Tamaulipas Attorney General Irving Barrios Mojica, surveillance footage and cell phone data helped track the musicians' last known movements.
After their kidnapping of Fugitivo band members, they were taken to a property near the Uckwell Serdan neighborhood, where the previously mentioned security and justice personnel conducted an operation. The operation is still ongoing. Forensic services personnel are working at the location. At the moment, there are elements that suggest this is the place where they were unfortunately killed.
This massacre underscores a disturbing trend in Mexico, where musicians, particularly those performing regional genres like narco-corridos, songs that often glorify cartel life, are increasingly caught in the crosshairs of criminal groups. Whether Grupo Fugitivo was targeted for their music or became collateral damage in a broader turf war remains under investigation. Reynosa, where the musicians were killed, remains under a Level 4 travel advisory from the United States. This is due to rampant crime, kidnapping, and frequent gun battles. Violence linked to organized crime has claimed more than 480,000 lives in Mexico since 2006. In Tamaulipas alone, the line between public life and cartel rule continues to blur, with heavily armed gangs openly patrolling areas and overpowering local law enforcement. This isn't the first time musicians have suffered at the hands of cartels. In 2013, 17 members of the band Combo Colombia were executed under similar circumstances. And earlier this year, leaflets threatening music artists with ties to rival gangs were scattered across a northwestern city by a plane. An airborne warning shot from cartel factions. As gangland influence seeps further into Mexico's artistic space, even music is no longer safe. President Claudia Sheinbaum has responded by launching initiatives aimed at replacing violent lyrical narratives with positive messages. Still, as the tragic fate of Grupo Fugitivo shows, rewriting lyrics may be easier than rewriting the reality on the ground. With musicians now facing the same level of risk as journalists and activists, the cultural cost of cartel control is now becoming increasingly devastating. The question remains, who will perform when the music stops?
That's our show for today. We certainly thank all of you for tuning in. We hope you have a great weekend, and we look forward to seeing you right back here next week. Thanks, everyone.